the will, the willpower. That's the missing element. Will is the key. Willpower. Coming back from seemingly unsurmountable odds. It's impossible. I've heard that so many times. It's just impossible. Can't be done. It is impossible until some crazy son of a bitch has the audacity to believe that no matter what the expert says, I can still do that shit. And if you don't believe it, just sit your ass down over there and watch me do it. Today, I reclaim my birthright. I'm going to go out the king, the ruler, the beast that I was born to be. Remember what you are. Remember what you are. Remember who the fuck you are. So do what you may. I'm gonna bite this motherfucker's head off.
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, Manga chapter 566. And yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. You knew before you clicked on this video that I was going to be excited today. Yes, I'm excited. Okay, all right, you got me. I'm excited. Why? Why, you ask? Because I finally got to see something from Yotanwa. Finally, I got to see the Lord of Death in action. And yes, I've already heard the murmurs. I've already heard the whispers in the wind. That what's the big deal? It's just Goba. He's nobody special. And no. Because if Bajio would have killed Goba, then this would have been a nice little feat for him, right? And let's not forget, a lot of the people who slander Yotanwa, I used to hear this going around a lot earlier on with the Yotanwa slander, that Bajio, her underling, was actually stronger than her. So at least we were able to put that one to bed this chapter, but I can guarantee there's at least one person out there who would still probably try to argue that fact. But we spent enough time dwelling on that, guys. Today is a day of celebration for us Yotanwa truthers. We got some feats under our belt, man. We got feats under our belt. And for a Yotanwa fanboy like myself, I cannot lie. Seeing some of these panels and seeing some of the things I've been waiting to see for so long, when I first saw these panels, these glorious panels, I nearly wept from joy. Because we finally got some evidence of the Lord of Death's martial prowess. But putting all that to the side, guys, listen, Yotanwa haters, there is still hope. There is still hope. Because let me give you this little bit of information. This is just the appetizer. It wasn't the main course. There's still more to come. So there is still time. There is still time for you to turn your life around. Repent. Repent of your sins because the Lord of Death forgives.
I mean, you're going to hell right now. And you're needing God to work the miracle for you. That God will not only hear, but God. You must order the personal package, and you got to order it right now.
Okay, so this chapter picks up where we left off last week with Yotanwa sandwiched between Rozo and Goba's armies, but the situation goes from bad to worse for Yotanwa, as we see that Sun Suiju is truly a monster. He wanted to give Yotanwa and her army absolutely nowhere to escape to, and he does this by breaking out the Kosen Ryu army. And I thought this was kind of hilarious because the way he breaks him out, he's all like, "You haven't forgotten about us, have you?" And this was just too funny because I can hear the readers like all across the world like, yeah, we did. You guys have been MIA for like 40 chapters. Must be nice to just show up whenever you feel like it.
Thank God you're here. Where have you been, bitch? Where have you bloody been?
So now with the Kosen Ryu army splitting up to block both Yotanwa's flanks, she is now completely boxed in, and we see that Sun Suiju's plan worked like a charm. But Goba said it best as he stated that they couldn't have fell for this any harder if they tried. So the whole first part of this chapter was like really Zhou centric, and we didn't get much from Yotanwa's group at all, other than the fact that we seen them for the most part just realizing how big of a jam they were in. And then Zhou piling on continues as Rozo comes onto the scene, pretty much just delivering his villain's monologue about how, as the king of the mighty Quangrong, ancestors to these Western barbarians, he believes it's time to give this woman a sound thrashing for daring to call herself the king of the mountains. And that's when we see that Rozo's speech was so gut-wrenching and so rousing that his men had no other alternative but to go into such a frenzy that words were not even necessary anymore. They literally start barking like rabid dogs.
Two are roaming their neighbourhood, frightening the locals, and the council isn't stopping it.
Now, yesterday morning, I came out into the front yard and the dogs were across the road. And as soon as they saw me, they came bounding over. And I just made it into the front.
And then we got to the most depressing part of the chapter for me, because at this point, with everything stacked against her and her also realizing that in her current situation, her sword would be unable to reach Rozo, Yotanwa decides to retreat. And I just started thinking, no, please, no, I need to see some sort of feat. But then I started to think, well, even her escaping this situation would actually be a pretty big feat. Because, I mean, at this point in time, Sun Suiju pretty much had her and her army dead to rights. And Sun Suiju actually brings this up himself, saying that she can struggle all she wants, but this will be her grave. But we actually see that Sun Suiju and Rozo have two separate grave locations, because as Rozo sends his men into attack, he tells them to bring her back alive, because he wants to first flay her from the neck down and then ravage her until she breathes her last breath. So if you're not familiar with what flay means and you're not like a Game of Thrones Ramsay Bolton fan, then it pretty much means to like skin something. So he first wants to skin Yotanwa from the neck down and then ravage her nether regions. I'm like, what? First off, this is totally disgusting. And second off, yeah, you're losing focus, bruh. Your mind is definitely in the wrong place.
It's a sausage competition that I judge.
Oh, in like sausage eating?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. King of the Kubasa and local sausage makers, they all make their best and they enter it.
I bet it's delicious.
It is. Tickets are only $25. It's for charity, and you can get tickets online at no.
Well, you're thinking about sausage, so.
And once the fighting actually breaks out, it actually looks like the Zhou have the upper hand. Even our boy Kosun Ryu gets a star for participation for having his men shooting arrows to keep the enemy pinned inside. But then we finally start to see a glimmer of light. We finally start to get a bit of a turnaround as Yotanwa in all of her glory and splendor finally makes a move. And what's really interesting about this is that it's actually a move that Sun Suiju didn't even expect. Because instead of heading for the openings left between the Kosun Ryu army and Goba army, she instead chose to go directly at the Goba army, even though this meant exposing the rear of her army to Rozo's men. And even though this one maneuver seems trivial at first glance, it's actually pretty amazing for her to choose this route. Because I kind of believe that Sun Suiju actually left those gaps as bait for Yotanwa. And if she would have done as Sun Suiju predicted, they most likely would have been walking into even more of a trap. And it's amazing because for the first time we actually see Sun Suiju appear shocked, as he along with Rozo actually begin to realize that even in this hopeless situation, Yotanwa is still trying to achieve her first objective, which was taking Goba's head. But then we get to see just how reckless of a move this was from Sun Suiju and Goba's perspective, because even though Goba is pincered by the Baggio and Yotanwa army, the main enemy for Yotanwa in this situation is actually time, because if she's too slow getting to Goba, her army will be slowly ground down from all directions. And with Goba actually being able to stall both Baggio and Shumen's units, and the fact that his inner army is full of elite soldiers that haven't been harmed all battle, it appears to Sun Suiju that all Yotanwa has managed to do is hasten the death of her and her men. But then... For me personally, this is where the fangasm began. Like, I can't even lie to you. When I saw Yotanwa reach for that second sword and just start casually destroying the Quanrong without breaking a sweat, I nearly lost it. But when we see that she's moving at the speed of a bullet through Goba's forces, that's when I put it all together. First we get Zhou talking about her nerves of steel earlier in the chapter, then we get this speeding bullet reference, and not to mention the color scheme in the cover page. It's clear to me that horror wants us to believe that Yotanwa is Superwoman. There's like no other explanation for these superhuman abilities, and when we see her finally break through the last line of defense in front of Goba, I think at this point everybody and their mom knew that Goba was a dead man. The only question was, how was it gonna happen? And I personally think horror executed it perfectly by first reminding us that this man was someone who was on par with Fajio, and then instead of having Yotanwa just one-shot him, we get to see her literally dissecting this man piece by piece. And I'll give Goba his credit for surviving like 2 seconds in the initial clash, but after that things just got one-sided. As Yotanwa's skills with a blade are otherworldly, we see her slice off one hand and then the other, leaving Goba completely unarmed and defenseless as the Lord of Death removes his head from his shoulders. And with everyone on the battlefield, especially Zhou and Rosa, wondering what the hell just happened, Yotanwa, looking like she doesn't have a single scratch on her, tells her men that now they retreat, and for them to do whatever it takes to make it out alive. And the interesting part here is that even though Rosa just lost his second brother today, he actually seems a bit excited by this. And we find out that even though Yotanwa was successful on the 9th day in killing the eldest brother Goba, her and her men will have to weather a ferocious Quanrong pursuit even after night fell. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys. Alright guys, so that was an amazing chapter of Kingdom. We finally got to see something from Yotanwa. We finally got to see her in all of her awesomeness. And what really struck me about Yotanwa's style, other than the fact that she uses 2 swords once she gets serious in battle, is just how effortless it seems for Yotanwa to cut through her opponents. I mean, it really looks kind of Kyokai-esque. And I have to admit, man, I really loved seeing Suiju's face like in such shock, because you gotta remember, this guy's almost like emotionless. We never see his face like hardly ever change. So when we saw this chapter, even he had to realize that Yotanwa is something special. And I just really appreciate that Yotanwa made sure that she got the job done. She looked at Rosa and she was like, I would like to take him out, but she said, absolutely, we have to take Goba out as part of today's plan. And that's another thing I wanted to touch on, is that they're actually sticking to the plan. Because Yotanwa's plan for the 9th day, she already told the people early on that it would require sacrifices. But she said if we are able to take out the 3 brothers, okay, on the 9th day, then that will cut the Quanrong enemy's strength in half. And all this was said in chapter 552. And she also said that they had 3 days of food remaining. So if they had 3 days of food remaining, that means they had food for the 9th day, the 10th day, and the 11th day. By the 12th day, they would be out of food. So the entire plan has to encapsulate the 3 days, because their goal within 3 days is to capture the city. So now they have 2 more days left, and also due to all their losses should have a little bit more food to go around. But at this point, we move on to phase 2 of the plan. And really, we never got phase 2 of the plan, because this is where the plan stopped. Because all we did was go over the plan for the 9th day. But we cannot forget the fact that the mission is only 2/3 complete at the current moment, because we still have no idea what's going on with Heki. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the next chapter we go back to Heki and maybe go back a little bit in time to kind of pick up where we left off with him and to see how things go from there. Because I really think that Heki has to get this kill with Bunen, because I think he would rather commit seppuku than show up in front of Yotanwa empty-handed yet again. But I guess at this point it's like a 50-50 thing, but I just, oh my god, if Heki shows up empty-handed, I'm done with Heki. I can't do it anymore, because like, that is just embarrassing. I can't see this guy not producing yet again. Because then that would set the plans back. They would have to try to kill Bunen on the 10th day. And, you know, just getting close to him was going to be a struggle. So I think it would be cool if they would accomplish all their goals. But the reality is they may not accomplish all their goals. And they may have to, you know, go into the next day with Bunen still on the plate. And who knows, maybe with Kosen Ryu landing back on the battlefield, that's who Heki's opponent will be. Because you know what? These two guys have very similar luck. We've been fighting Kosen Ryu every single time the Zhou and Quinn go at it. And this guy always manages to survive. So obviously him and Heki have very similar luck. And maybe this guy is more Heki's speed. I don't know. So we'll see what happens with that. But another thing I kind of picked up this chapter that was kind of interesting to me was the way Rosa was talking about flaying Yotanwa. I think this is something like that actually points to how Rosa treats his own people. Because when you look at the design of characters like Gilly and Torque, specifically those two, you'll notice that both of them look like they've had skin removed. With Gilly, it's like in his mouth region, and with Torque, it's like one whole side of his face. So I'm guessing this is something like the king or maybe just the leaders in general of the Quan Rong do to people and their subordinates like when they mess up. And usually, I guess when you screw up, they probably just kill you. But if you're more of an important person and they don't want to get rid of you, they probably just, you know, flay you a little bit. But moving on to the comment of the week, and this week's comment goes out to Born in Walmart. That's like the coolest name ever, man. But his comment was, where does Riboku find these guys? He found Keisha and SSJ. Man, I wish Osen could recruit talent like those. Well, I don't know, man. Like, Osen does recruit good talent. Like, I think Mako is kind of slept on because he got defeated so easily by Riboku. But like when you look at Akko, man, Akko is definitely like an elite general under Osen. But at the same time, some Suishu is pretty good. So I'm not even gonna get into a debate like that, but let me know what you guys thought about that in the comments. If you had to start your army around somebody, would you choose SSJ or would you choose Akko? I kind of think that most people would choose SSJ, but we'll see. But anyway, guys, that about does it for this week's review. Let me know what you guys thought of the chapter in the comments section below. Please leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video, and feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out!